Hello again. We are Chris Lee, and Chase Robinson of Southeastern 16 Oklahoma has made a quarterback change ahead of its game with Auburn. We'll now see Michael Hawkins replacing Jackson Arnold. We'll get into all that as the Sooners prepare to face Auburn. But Chase, just your thoughts on the whole situation. What a bizarre place we're in. We thought that Jackson Arnold would be one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. He found himself on the bench last week of the second half of the Tennessee game after a disastrous first half. Not all his fault, but just general thoughts on Michael Hawkins stepping in here.
Yeah, and it is bizarre, Chris, because we really dove into Oklahoma in the offseason, getting ready for them entering the SEC. And this is not at all what we thought and how it would go. Jackson Arnold appeared to be what I thought could be a really good quarterback for Oklahoma. He had some good receivers. It seemed like they had a really good run game, but the offense has not produced so far in the first 4 games of the season for Oklahoma. And so when you can't get anything going offensively, I think it's time to look at a change. And I think Brent Venables liked what he saw when Michael Hawkins came into the game last week. And so I feel like this is a good move. I mean, the offense keeps stalling out, so why not try something different? And they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Well, they've been going to Jackson Arnold over and over, and we're getting the same results. So why not put Michael Hawkins in? And I think I was impressed by him with what I saw in the second half of the Tennessee game. I mean, he was 11 of 18, 132 yards, a touchdown. He did turn the ball over. But what I like about Hawkins, the dual threat that he brings to his game, he had 12 carries, 22 yards. You take away a couple of sacks, and he would have had 45 yards on the game. But Jackson Arnold's problem was turnovers. In the 5 starts he's had at Oklahoma, that includes the bowl game last year, he's had 9 turnovers. And so I feel like you go to Hawkins, you see what he can do. We've seen this kind of something similar at Auburn with going back and forth, finding who their guy is. And I feel like that's what Oklahoma can do now. But, I think that the dual threat ability of Hawkins can give him a leg up in being the quarterback at Oklahoma. The fact that he is able to move in different ways. They're saying he's freaky fast. Like he's fast. He's probably the fastest quarterback in that room from what I've read and hearing there out of Oklahoma. And offensive lineman Trace Ford compared him to Kyler Murray in a press conference availability this week, and saying he's one of those guys that can get you out of trouble. He gets out of the pocket when people are in trouble. And as Trace Ford alluded to that, he showed that a little bit Saturday night against Tennessee. But he seems very poised, very composed. And again, if he doesn't have an option to throw to, he's able to run, and he's very fast. And so I think that's a big bonus for Oklahoma right now to maybe get something going offensively, get some consistency going. If Michael Hawkins comes in and is the quarterback that they can lean on, maybe for the rest of the season. You don't want to write Jackson Arnold off completely, but obviously they are having issues offensively. But Michael Hawkins, with his abilities to run, I think is a big bonus for Oklahoma. And being compared to Kyler Murray is not bad. And I think Oklahoma fans would be excited to hear that.
Well, poise and composure are needed in this offense right now. Jackson Arnold has been sacked 10 times. Michael Hawkins has been sacked twice. The Sooners have played 11 offensive linemen, according to Pro Football Focus. 5 of them have played over 100 snaps. 9 have played at least 50 snaps, which is pretty significant. And we know about the injuries that started with Branson Hickman's injury in the opener against Temple. Speaking of which, OU has played 3 centers so far. All have graded terribly on Pro Football Focus, and health may have something to do with that. But the numbers so far, Michael Hawkins has been the more efficient passer by quarterback ratings, and that's in 22 throws versus Jackson Arnold's 102. But here's the thing. The second half of that Tennessee game was a harder sample size than what Arnold played on the whole. I mean, they had Temple, that had some of these give me games. And is it a big enough sample size to make up my mind for sure? No. But I think that's interesting that Hawkins in a smaller sample size has performed better statistically than has Arnold so far against easier teams.
Yeah, and you mentioned the offensive line. And I think that's important to note. I mean, whoever's in at quarterback, Arnold, Hawkins, whoever it is going to be playing behind a beat up offensive line. They've had to put a lot of guys in there. They've struggled at center this year, and so yeah, whoever's in at quarterback, they're behind an offensive line who's struggled so far. But what I think is what Michael Hawkins brings to this matchup specifically with Auburn is Auburn's defense. They struggled at times with Devin Dampier of New Mexico. They struggled at times with Taylon Green of Arkansas. Both of those dual threat guys. Well, if Hawkins can come in here and get things done in the air and on the ground, well, Auburn may have a tough time stopping him as well. And so I think that could be something, again, Oklahoma hasn't really been able to get their offense going this year. If they're able to do that Saturday against Auburn, they have a good chance to win, I think, because I think Auburn's defense is still trying to work some things out. And so I like Hawkins coming in this game. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's getting his first start. You see a lot when these quarterbacks are given the opportunity, they take advantage of it. I think he could do that. And again, I think Auburn is a good first opponent for Michael Hawkins because of his dual threat ability.
Chase, I've got a two-part question for you. How do you handle the situation Saturday if Michael Hawkins struggles early against Auburn? And part two of this, which has really been a topic this week with what's going on at UNLV, how do you handle this in light of transfer portals, NIL, all the things that just make what are already complicated situations even more complicated? I'm going to give you a minute to think about that and remind you that BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $100 mega contest. Pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. Okay, back to you, Chase. How do you handle a complicated situation here if it goes poorly for Michael Hawkins Jr. early?
That's tough because I think Jackson Arnold is going to be ready to go. He knew he had the starting job going into the season, and sometimes I feel like we've seen this at Auburn. Peyton Thorne didn't have a great start. Hank Brown came in, started a game and a half. Well, Peyton Thorne really injected some life into Auburn late against Arkansas, and maybe that could be a situation that we see at Oklahoma. If Hawkins doesn't start great, you put Arnold back in and let him go to work, and maybe it was a little bit of a wake up call for him. Maybe that kind of woke him up not starting this game, and so I think it's good to still have Jackson Arnold to lean on. He's proved something to the coaches for them to make him the starter for this season. So I'm by no means completely writing off Jackson Arnold, and I don't think Oklahoma fans or the coaches should either. I think he does have good quarterback abilities. And so, yeah, if things don't go well with Hawkins, you do have Jackson Arnold, and maybe it is a wake-up call for him. And I don't think you have to worry at this point about, transfer portal and everything. I still think Jackson Arnold has a chance to be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma. And he has a chance every, 5 days between games to prove that in practice. That he is. And so I by no means think he's anywhere out of it. I think we will definitely see him more this season. It's just, hey, let's see what Michael Hawkins could do. You're still early in the season. You're still early in SEC play, but I think we could definitely see Jackson Arnold more this season.
Yeah, and, that's what I'm telling both guys, too, is, first of all, a quarterback can get hurt at any point. Mississippi State's already lost a quarterback for the season. South Carolina has been without Lenore Sellers for a bit already. We don't know where that's going. So we're not even to October, You've seen guys knocked out already. That's number one. And oh, by the way, offensive lineman is having some protection troubles. Number two, I thought you hit on something very interesting there. Jackson Arnold, I think, was a top 10 recruit in his class. Michael Hawkins was more like a top 300 recruit in the class of 2023. So, look, I don't know what the narrative was around Oklahoma's quarterback competition in fall camp. I wasn't really locked in because we all presumed it was going to be Jackson Arnold. And maybe Jackson Arnold presumed that too. And of course you do that with a recruit of that stature because he can hit the portal. But, and I'm not making any warranty on any of these statements being true because maybe none of this is true. But I'm just saying, if you're Jackson Arnold, you're pretty sure you're going into the season as a quarterback. Everybody knows it. You didn't really expect to be in this position. Competitors fight back and they try to get better. And sometimes it's better to sit on the sidelines and learn and watch somebody else do it. So I think those are the things that I am thinking about and working into talking points if I'm the Oklahoma staff.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. And I think this is a good opportunity, like you mentioned, for both guys, Hawkins, Arnold, to get better, to try to get your team in the best position they can to win. They've got a tough stretch ahead. So whoever's in at quarterback needs to do the best they can to make their team successful.
It will be interesting to see how it goes against Auburn. Honestly, I think that the defense is good enough to carry Oklahoma to a win if you just get a little bit of good play at quarterback. And so our eyes will be on this one Saturday. Our voices will be talking about it afterwards on Saturday night. Best way to see that, hit the subscribe button here, enable your notifications so you can know when we go live with videos, which we will probably be doing as the end of Alabama-Georgia game is happening. We'll recap everybody on the day. We also talk baseball and basketball in the offseason year-round. So if you enjoy that, hit that subscribe button too. And caroline.smith at southeastern14.com if you have advertising inquiries, and we do have an audience in the millions every year. Anyway, for Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. We are Southeastern 16, presented by BetOnline.